welcome. My name is Jackie from Regent Street Gym. So I believe this is a new little series that we're going to be doing. Different instructors are going to be taking you through different elements. So I am doing Mobility Fit, which is going to be kind of a good class to pair with what one of the other boys have been doing. So if you've come from a boxing class, a circuit class or a strength class with any of those guys, you can then come and click on mine afterwards, and we're going to go for about 15-20 minute class. We'll see how it goes. And I'm going to take you through some different exercises to help sort of stretch, because that's a word, stretch and relax after the sort of high intensity classes that you've been doing. What I've decided that I'm going to do is I'm going to break them down into different sections of the body. So today we're going to be working on the back. Other weeks we're going to have like calves, we're going to have hip flexors and quads, we've got glutes and hams at another point. So if you're feeling a little bit tight in a certain area, you can then click on that one and then you can come and join me for that. So without further ado, let's get going. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting off in child's pose. So if you don't know what child's pose is, don't worry, I'm going to be breaking everything down for you at the same time. So you're going to come to your mat or a comfortable position. And kneeling on a wooden floor is not the most comfortable thing. So if you've got some sort of mat or cushioning, some sort of surface that's useful, then use that. So bringing yourself down, so you're going to put your big toes together. You're then going to take your hips back behind you and walk your hands forward. Why I still have my glasses on, I have no idea, because I don't need them. So taking your hands forwards and then bringing yourself down. And then you're just going to rest your head on your mat. So you're bringing those arms forwards, trying to reach through as much as you can while sending those hips backwards. And you should ideally feel a stretch for this down through your back. So we're just kind of easing into it. We're not going too crazy. If you want to increase the stretch slightly, then you can start to sort of spider walk your fingers out. And then equally also, if you've got your palms flat on the floor and you want to increase the stretch a little bit more, you can then tent them up or spider them into your fingers. So you're pushing through your fingers, which will emphasize the stretch down your back. So we're just going to hold that there for a few more moments. Make sure that you keep breathing. So you're not holding your breath in any of these positions we're going to be doing. You're just breathing as you would normally, deep inhaling and exhaling. From here, we can then emphasize the stretch a little bit more down each side. So we're then going to take our right hand and we're going to crawl our right side of our body over to the left hand side. So now you should feel a little bit more of a stretch down your right hand side in particular. So we're holding that there. And again, just breathing, working with that breath, slowly relaxing and holding it there for one more moment. And then this time we're going to take it across to the other side. So same thing, except this time we've gone over to the right hand side and we've been crossing our arms as we went. And so now it's your left hand side of the body that you should be feeling that stretch down. So again, just holding it there and breathing. And back to center. And slowly walking yourself back up to a seated position. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to have a little look at opening up through your thoracic spine. So little quick breakdown for you. You've got three sections within your back. You've got your cervical section, which is where your neck is mainly. You've then got your thoracic region, which is where your rib cage is. And then you've got your lumbar region, which is where sort of what everyone calls your lower back is. Now your thoracic region is the one that we want to do a little bit of work on trying to open up and become a little bit more, create a little bit more space, because especially now that courses are online at the moment, there'll be a lot of sat behind a desk and it can get quite stiff and quite stuck and feel a little bit rigid. So it's quite good to make sure that you'll keep moving, getting up and taking breaks from the desk as well. So we want to have a little look at your thoracic region. Now your thoracic spine, so like I said, where your rib cages are, it can do a little bit of rotation, but that's the only movement that it can really do, because when we're bending forwards and backwards, that's actually coming from your lumbar spine, and when you do rotations with your neck here, then obviously that's working the cervical aspect. But this bit, it's just rotation. So we need to work on that to make sure we can open it up a little bit more and create a little bit more space, which will make it a bit more comfortable for you. So first thing that we're going to do is we are going to test what your range is like at the moment. So for that, what I need you to do is to come onto your, sitting on your knees if comfortable. If that's not comfortable, then you can actually do this from a kneeling position like so. I would say if you can though, try and sit back onto your ankles so you've got your knees fully flexed. But like I said, if that is a problem, then you can do this instead. So from here, what you're going to do is you're going to then bring yourself down so that you've got your palms, well, what are these? Forearms on the floor. From there, what I then want you to do is you're going to touch your ear, and from this position, so your back is relatively flat, we're not in this position here, you've got a nice flat back, you're then going to turn to the side and look to where you can, well, the furthest thing away is that you can see. So you're looking up in that corner towards where your elbow is. So for example, I can just about see where my window is on the side of this room. And then we're going to come back down again. So I want you to bear that in mind. So that last little bit that you saw, that's what we're going to try and create a little bit more space. So that's the testing section. Then we're going to do a little bit of work on creating more space. So you're going to bring yourself into a seated position. You can cross your legs if that's more comfortable. I personally prefer sitting a little bit more like this. Then from here, we're going to basically take our hands up towards, so we're touching around about where the ears, side of the head is, and then we're going to twist in the same direction of where you've just been looking, so twisting over to the right hand side in this case, and then you're going to drop down, hold it for a moment, then you're going to come back up, we're going to twist again, we're going to come down, and you're basically going to keep repeating this process until you reach your end point. And by end point, I mean you really can't turn any further. So for me, not only am I hitting my radiator, but I can't really go much further. So this last one, we're going to hold for a little bit longer. You're going to try and think about counting to about 10 seconds in your head. So it's just twisting and then dropping that elbow down so that you can feel a stretch and opening up through your ribs. And then coming back to center. So now we check and see if we've created a little bit more space on that side. So we're going to go back to that position that we were in before. So everything exactly the same. So if you were in this position before, you're going to return to that position. If you were in the bending on your knees, then you're going to come to that one. So from here, you're then going to look up, and now I can actually see the pillar, which is at the bottom of my eyesight. So I have managed to move a little bit from the other side where we were before. Now, we obviously repeat this and do this on the other side. So turning over, so we're now doing the left. Now you may have one side that is a little bit more open than the other. That's normal. Bodies are full of differences and instabilities and all of those kind of things. So if you're slightly more restricted on one side, it's not a problem, don't panic, it's completely normal, but hopefully we'll be able to closen, is that a word? The distance between the right hand side and the left hand side. So get yourself in that starting position again, dropping yourself down, bending that left elbow now, so remember we're on the left hand side, and then from there, back again, nice and flat. We're not arching through that spine. Keep it nice and relaxed. And then we're going to rotate. Oh, and this is my slightly tighter side. We're going to rotate and look around to the side. And so I can just see the edge of my fairy lights. Of course I have fairy lights. Corner of the room. And then we're going to come down. So you're only holding that very briefly just to see where you can get to. And in fact, we'll stay turned this way. So back to your seated position. Then coming back to put your hands by your head, and then obviously we're going to turn towards the left hand side. So from here, we're turning, dropping down, keeping those elbows one high, one low, back up, turn, drop, And as I said, this side is a bit tighter, so actually I'm pretty much now as far as I can go. So holding that for a little bit longer on that last repetition. And then coming up and back to center. And then of course we want to see whether we've made any difference, so we're going to check it. So you then come back down to the position that you were before, elbow bends, and then from there looking up, and now I can actually see the start of my doorway, which I couldn't before. So that is a good one of our first moves that we're going to do in terms of opening up for the thoracic spine. Excuse me, I'm just going to grab myself a drink, make sure you've got yourself some water, stay hydrated and all that. Right, next up is something called an open book. How am I going to be able to demonstrate this one? I think I will be able to. So what is going to happen, I'll show you the position that you're going to be in from seated, but you're actually going to be doing this lying down, which is why I'm showing you two ways, because I think it would be quite difficult to demonstrate the other way. So you're basically going to be kind of curled up on the floor as if you were sleeping. And then from here, what you're going to do is your bottom arm is going to be extended out. You're going to drag this top arm and you're going to rotate round to the other side, and then you can come back again. So your bottom arm, which is against the floor, is nice and flat. This arm is on top, dragging it forward and then rotating round to the other side. Now you don't want to force the movement, you want to realistically go as far as you can. So you're not if your shoulder is popping off the floor or can't completely fully sit on the floor, that's not a problem. You also want to make sure that your hips are in position. So what I would recommend is grabbing yourself, I've got some blocks, but if you've got any sort of books, if you happen to have a foam roller, and just something that you can place underneath your top knee so that your hips and pelvis stay stacked on top of each other whilst you're doing this movement, that's all. So you need to make yourself a little bit of room. This is where we're going to find out whether I've left enough recording space for my long legs. So we shall find out together. Let's remove the glass, don't break it. Right, so setup wise, let's go this way first. So what you want to do is you're going to have lying down on the floor. This is going to, I definitely am longer than that. Right, I'm coming closer. So you're then going to pop your top leg slightly in front and on a block. But now you can see that my pelvis is stacked. If this was here, this would have happened and I could have twisted. So you're just going to pop a block there to make sure you're nice and level. Then from there, get yourself nice and straight so your hips should be in line with your shoulders. If you're too far forward, that's no good. Equally, if you're too far back, that's also not so great. So from here, palm on top, and then all you're going to do is drag this arm and then extend. I still don't have enough room, my long limbs. And then come back. So extend, take that neck with you over to the other side. So what we're hopefully doing here is just creating a little bit more range and more movement through that T-spine, through your rib cage area. You just want to do about 5 or 6 on one side. Like I said, this is nice and controlled. What you're not doing is you're not getting to this point and just whacking your arm over to the other side and hoping for the best. You're placing it, and I know I'm not demonstrating ideally, but I don't have enough room for my arm here. So I'm going at a slight angle. You want to go straight, but I can't do that. Then we're going to roll onto the other side. So what I'll do is I'll turn and face the other way, and that you should still be able to see me then. So same thing, other side. So make sure you've got that block in position. Onto your side, popping your knee on. The other one can just sit underneath nicely, or if you want to have it straight, you can also have it straight. It's just so that that pelvis stays nice and stacked. I have moved myself further away from there, so let's move here. Bottom arm nice and flat. Again from here, positioning wise, hips and shoulders are in line, so you're not off from your hips. You want to be one on top of the other. And then again, just dragging that arm back. And what if I bend my arm? That's a bit better. So from here, pulling back over to the other side. Now what I've decided to do this time is I've just bent my elbow. You're still going to keep your arm nice and straight, it's just that I don't have space. And make sure you're taking that head with you. So again, nice and controlled, looking over to the other side. So you're getting this nice twist in your torso. We'll do one more after this. If you want to like hang out on that side for a little bit and kind of take a couple of breaths, you can do, or if you want to keep it a little bit more flowing, you also can do. Okay, so that is called an open book, and you can imagine the reason for that is obviously you're opening and closing pages, like so. Next one, we are doing, sorry, I have my list of exercises next to the camera. We are doing a kneeling rotation reach. So again, this is another one for that thoracic spine. This is the last one that we're going to do for that. So what we're going to do is kneeling, and this one, ideally you do need to be kneeling. So if kneeling and actually sitting back on your heels is uncomfortable, you could grab yourself a cushion and see if you can jam that between your legs, and if that's a little bit better. But ideally, if you can, come all the way down onto your, so you're sitting on your ankles. If you need to, you can also prop that up under there. Right, the exercise. So from here, hands are going slightly in front of you, so they're not directly underneath your shoulders. You want to move them a little bit in front of you. Now, whilst you're there, you're going to kind of think about dragging your elbows back. So pull through your shoulders to drag your elbows and your hands back, but you're not actually going to move them. So they're planted down, but dragged back. Then what we're going to do from there is you're then going to arch forward. So we're creating that arch, straightening it out, and then I want you to reach with this arm. Come back down, repeat on the other side. So flexing, extending, draw back with those arms, reach and open up. Come back down. So flex, extend, reach with that right, and come back down. Making sure that this is controlled as you go through here, and you're keeping that drag feeling as you open up through your arm. You're not just waving for the sake of waving your arm around. So that's on the right hand side. So over to the left hand side. So flexing, extending, drawing those hands back, raising the left across to the other side, and one more time on each side. So flex, extend, arm goes up, and we're looking at that hand as well. So we're making sure that we focus on that hand as it moves up and down. Okay. Then we're going to move on to some more sort of actual stretches that you may have seen before. So obviously the one that people think about when they do the back, I'm going to go back to this direction, is cat-cow. So with cat-cow, you want to make sure that you have your knees underneath your hips and your hands underneath your shoulders. If you've got a very long torso, then obviously your legs are going to be much further back. With this one, you want to inhale as you tilt that pelvis under and lift your chest up. You're taking an inhale. And then as you tilt the pelvis back, that's going to make you return and fold in on yourself and push through your shoulders, and that's where you're going to exhale. So we're going to inhale and exhale, and then repeat again. Nice. And one more time. So looking up, tilting that pelvis, and then bending through, exhaling, and really try and push through these shoulders at the top. So you're not just stopping here, really kind of emphasize that push from the hands, which will help with the rest of your back. All right, then we're going to do a seated twist. So this is a yoga move. I'm just going to grab a drink again. There's no work talking all this time. So then you're going to bring yourself out into a long position here. So you've got your legs straight out in front of you. Then what I want you to do is you're going to take your right leg we'll start with, and you're going to draw that and place your foot roughly just next to where your knee is. Then from here, you're going to use your left arm and you're going to grab hold of your thigh. If you want to do the specific yoga itself, you can bring your left arm through and in front, but I would say just to start with, you can just hug it in towards you. So bringing that right leg in towards your chest. Make sure you're nice and sat upright. If you're sat like this completely defeats the object of what we're actually trying to achieve. So sit up nice and tall, keep that lower back nice and flat. From there, you're going to place your arm up and reach behind. From here, you're kind of using that arm to push yourself nice and upright. So don't relax down into it. Again, keep up nice and tall. Then from there, you're going to take a deep breath in. So inhaling nice and tall, and then you're going to exhale, turn to look behind you. Now, as you're looking behind you, again, don't feel tempted to kind of sit back into that back. Try and keep yourself nice and tall, and then you're just going to work with your breath to turn. So each time you inhale, think about being nice and tall, and then as you exhale, see if you can turn and twist a little bit more, okay? We're looking to maybe do about 3 to 5 of these. So just inhale, nice and tall, and then exhaling, twisting a little bit more. And again, inhale and exhale, twist, and we'll do one more of those. So inhaling, tall, and exhale, twisting. So you now should be as far as realistically you can go that is comfortable. And then slowly, 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 bring yourself back. If you want to do a slight counter twist to that, you can do. So keeping your leg exactly where it was. You're now going to turn, take both hands to the opposite side of you, and then just leaning over ever so slightly, just for a few seconds, to counter twist what you just did. And then we'll repeat, but on the other side. So I'll stay facing this way, then I think you might not get as confused. So this time we're going to take your left leg on top of the right. You want to put your left foot by your right knee. Take your right arm, grab it in, pull it in towards you. Take your left arm up and behind, and make sure that you're sat up nice and tall, so no slouching. And then literally doing the same thing. So inhale to be nice and tall, and then exhaling, turning to look behind you. And then again, we're going to repeat this for a few rounds. So inhale, make sure you're nice and upright, and exhale, turning to look behind you. And you might find that one side is slightly stickier. That's not a problem. Just make sure that you're aware of it, and don't then be tempted to compensate and start to sit back as if you're in your favourite chair at home, watching your favourite Netflix program. And lifting up, and then exhaling behind. And we'll do one more of these. So inhale and exhale. Good. And then same as before, releasing the hands, keep your leg where it is. Now turn to the opposite side, putting your hands down and just bending over slightly towards there, so you can feel a little bit of a counter stretch on that side. Perfect. Okay, then from here we're going to do, so we've done quite a lot on your thoracic spine. We're now going to have a little look at your QL, which is a muscle which is in your lower back, which can sometimes get tight from a lot of seated work, as in like sat at the desk. So what you want to do, I think I've left myself enough space, is you're going to sit with your legs out, nice and long, out in front of you. So they don't want to be bang on straight out in front, excuse me. They need to be slightly to the side, so slightly extended. Then from here, what you're going to do is make sure you're sat nice and upright. So you actually kind of want to make sure that you're sat on what's called like your sit bones. So you're going to kind of tilt your pelvis a little bit to make sure that you're sat in the right position, which also means that your back's going to be a little bit flatter. From here, bring your arms up. We're then going to take your right arm and it's going to come down and point towards your left leg. And then we're going to reach over. So your belly button is turning as we look up. You're going to turn to the left-hand side. Right arm comes down, left arm comes over to the side. So we're actually stretching through the back, stretching your QL a little bit. So you should feel that down the back. So the side and the back area within that region. So just keep holding that there. During this, you want to make sure that both of your feet are also flexed too. So they're not pointed. Try and pull them up just so it keeps you in a nice stable position. And then slowly bringing yourself back to center again. So same thing, you're going to turn to look to the right side this time, taking the arms up, bring your left arm down, and then reaching across with your right. So it's literally the same thing, but just now stretching on the opposite side. Make sure that you're keeping both of your bum cheeks on the floor though. If one of them for some reason has started to lift off the floor, kind of push it back down again so that you're staying nice and stable and you've got an even stretch across the back. And then coming back. Okay, we are nearly there, just a couple more. So from here, we're then going to go into a lying spinal twist, which again, I think we should be able to do, fingers crossed. So with this one, I'm going to just move my mic a bit. There we go. So you're going to bring yourself onto your back. You're then going to tuck in your knees so they're nice and close to you. From here, I'll put this over here. From there, you're then going to take your arms out. Now you can either take your arms out straight, or if like me, you've not got that much room, you can have your elbows bent so they kind of look a little bit like a cactus or a rugby post. Put them onto the side, and we're going to go to the right hand side first. So you're going to turn to look to the left and take your legs across to the right hand side. Now if your legs don't completely come down to the floor and they're hovering around about here, you can decrease the angle at your hips. So if you're at 90 degrees and you can't touch the floor, you can decrease it so it's a little bit lower down, just so that you actually bring your legs down onto the floor, if that is more comfortable for you. And then we're just going to hold that there. Making sure that your shoulders are both on the floor. So your left shoulder and your right shoulder should still be on the floor. If one of them has started to come off the ground, you actually need to back your legs up slightly. So it might be that you just end up with your toes touching rather than your knees, but as long as your shoulder is on the floor, then all is good. So just hold that there and just take a little bit of a moment just to relax and focus on your breathing. So from that position, you're then going to bring your legs up and then reset yourself. So making sure your pelvis is nice and flat and back is against there. Bring your knees back up. This time we're going to go over to the left hand side. So your head is going to turn to the right and your legs are going to go over towards the left hand side. Again, making sure that that right shoulder stays on the floor. If it feels like it's hovering slightly, then just back your knees slightly higher to make sure that you maintain your shoulder on the floor. And then same as before, just take a moment to relax. That is my neighbours next door, I think. So yeah, just take a moment to relax. And then bring yourself back up to center and slowly bring yourself back up to a seated position. And then we are literally going to finish off this way that we started in child's pose. So coming back to that position that we had before. So bringing those big toes together, sinking your hips back, bringing those arms out in front,
And then just sinking your head down and holding it there. And bringing yourself into a comfortable seated position so that you are sitting comfortably. And that is it for the edition of Mobility Fit. I will see you soon for our next little episode, but until then, keep moving, keep happy, and look after yourself. Bye!